This is Prime News with Hugh Whitfeld.
Good evening, everyone. 5 homes have been evacuated at villages near Bathurst as the flood situation across the region intensifies. In a moment, we'll get the latest from the SES and tell you about the rapidly rising level at Burrendong Dam. We begin with Antonia Morrow at Perthville, where sandbagging operations swung into gear today to protect homes.
SES crews work furiously to save a Perthville home from impending floodwaters. All the owners can do is watch on and hope.
Well, if their predictions are right, it'll come up a lot more, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to survive it all right.
The house opposite Trevor's has already been inundated with water. The residents were forced to get out earlier this morning.
Yeah, they're going to the Bathurst PCYC, which is the evacuation point, and they're being looked after down there. And at this point in time, most of the schools have released their children. It's
one of around 20 homes SES crews are monitoring closely in the area.
But it is still rising, and it's still also rainy, which is giving us a bit of an unknown factor.
Overnight, 60 millimetres of rain fell in the catchment around Perthville, causing the Vale Creek to swell. Paddocks have turned into giant pools. Some local roads have been closed to traffic. The Great Western Highway was brought to a crawl after water blocked off some lanes. Upstream from Perthville at Georges Plains, residents aren't faring much better. This couple only moved in 12 months ago.
Moved in January, and yeah, it was bone dry back then. And we wouldn't expect any rain like this to happen.
While this family tried to get as much stuff out of their home before the floodwaters entered, there just wasn't enough time to save everything. The last time the Vale Creek was this high was back in 1998. Locals just hope they don't get a repeat of the 1990 floods.
I don't expect to see a 1990 flood through here again at this point, but all we need is another thunderstorm up the north, up the top end, and a couple of inches of rain down here, and then we will have some issues. There's no rest in sight for SES crews.
I'll confirm that with Ian, and we'll try and organise to get as many sandbags.
There's a team of 25 working around Perthville and Georges Plains right now. If it gets any worse, extra crews are on standby.
It's only a matter of us picking up the phone and we can get out of area assistance, just like our people go to Albury or Newcastle or other places when they're required.
Antonia Morrow in Perthville, Prime News.
Mudgee has copped at least 4 inches in the last 24 hours. The rising Cudgegong River is hitting record highs. These pictures were taken by staff at the local radio station 2MG. They show the paddocks around the station and transmitter practically underwater. That's the Castlereagh Highway to Gulgong outside the front gate. These shots were taken by a viewer near Lewis Ponds between Bathurst and Orange. No chance of getting to town today. 25,000 megalitres of water is being released from Burrendong Dam tonight. That's expected to put pressure on the Macquarie. Landholders downstream of the dam have been told to move stock and property to higher ground. The catchment has copped 80,000 megalitres of inflows over the past 24 hours. State Water expects an extra 75,000 to further drench the catchment by the end of today. Water levels rose from 108% yesterday to 116% today. It can hold a further 300,000 megalitres. Specialist staff from Sydney have flown to Dubbo to monitor the situation.
Sound dam management dictates that we need to have space in that dam to accommodate those inflows, and that will mean increasing releases without contributing too much to the already high flows within the Macquarie River.
The dam wall safety upgrade has been postponed. All that water coming out of Burrendong tonight is expected in Dubbo by around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. The Macquarie is already rising. Today, roads were cut and causeways flooded. It's a spectacle at this stage for some, but heartbreaking for farmers.
It's hard to believe today was the first day of summer. At this property north of Dubbo, it's a challenge to get in or out, let alone to check the mail.
He's in a bit of strife, that bloke. I'd hate to be collecting his mail.
Nearby farmer Bill O'Brien still has a sense of humour, but he's devastated the West's bumper crops are drenched underwater.
The farmers are very anxious, and like at the moment, the crop can be saved, but much more rain, yeah, it's not looking good.
As thunder roared above, the rain didn't let up, closing roads and flooding causeways. The Manor Road disappeared as the water crept up. The fast flows swallowed this footbridge in Dubbo. Residents crowded the riverbank to have a sticky beak at the rising Macquarie River.
Oh, I've been here for 6 years now. I've never seen it like this. Unbelievable.
Not good for the conkies, but it's good for the dam.
I've seen it about 4 feet over there, up around here.
But those too young to have ever seen the river this high are learning the dangers of the quick flows.
I said, stop right there, Daddy, because you'll get swept away.
Residents should get used to flooded causeways and closed roads in our region as rain is forecast right up until Christmas. Emergency Service have warned drivers to take extra care on our roads.
People that are used to using those causeways may experience depths and velocities a lot more than what they normally would. So we would advise that people just don't even take the risk.
Catalina Flores in Dubbo, Prime News.
The Castlereagh Highway between Gilgandra and Canamble is expected to be cut off tomorrow. There is a major flood warning in place as the Castlereagh River rises. At Menduran, the river has already reached moderate flood level. SES crews in Molong say the creek there is beginning to fall. The SES spent all morning keeping an eye on things around town. Just after lunch, water was at around 2.5 metres, but if it rises much further, the SES says it could mean trouble.
2.8, 2.9 we'll call the crews out, call everyone out.
A repeat of the devastating 2005 floods is considered unlikely in Molong because of mitigation work conducted over the past 12 months.
This situation now, the creek's still flowing fairly quickly and we haven't got any build-up of debris much.
The local MP for Grenfell and Young is calling for the two areas to be declared natural disaster zones. The Emu Creek at Grenfell burst its banks on Monday when flash flooding tore through the town. Water raced into homes, ruining some properties. At Young, the cherry crop has been cut in half by the rain. Burrinjuck MP Katrina Hodgkinson wants the Wedden and Young Shires to be declared natural disasters so locals can access help. The government says affected residents should report the damage. Well, for the latest, I spoke to Craig Ronan from the Central West SES just a short time ago. I began by asking him about the situation at Perthville and Georges Plains.
I'm pleased to report that we haven't had significant rainfall throughout the day and the water's actually receding. It's actually dropping now on the Vale Creek and we've closed the evacuation centre. We've had 6 people report to that this morning, but we sandbagged 3 properties at Georges Plains and 8 properties at Perthville, but the water is receding and provided there's no further rain overnight, the situation should improve. The Macquarie River at Bathurst is still rising. It's predicted to peak at 4 metres at 9 o'clock tonight. That means that there will be some nuisance flooding, including the low-level bridge in Hereford Street, but no properties or houses will be inundated. Molong, the Molong Creek is actually dropping, so there won't be any flooding there, providing there's no more rain, of course. Same with Yagowra, but we do have a flood warning for Canandra, and Canandra expected to peak around 4 metres at midnight. Again, we'll have some nuisance flooding, a few local roads. We won't see any flooding of residential or businesses.
Craig Ronan from the SES there. The wet start to summer means for the first time in years, rural fire service volunteers should be able to enjoy a quiet Christmas at home with their families. This time last year, Victoria, Rylstone and Bathurst and Orange were burning, but the wet weather means things have been much quieter in 2010. The Canobolas RFS says the moisture on the ground should keep things quiet until the new year, but that's when things will change. The command says there hasn't been this much fuel around in more than 20 years.
Particular fire season could have been and still may be, depending on what January and February brings, quite savage, given that the volume of grasslands fuels that we've got out there is probably the most that most of our district has seen in probably 20 or 25 years.
Well, November 2010 will go down as one of the wettest on record. Coonabarabran received nearly triple its November average. Cowra more than did. Oberon received more than 7 inches for the month in the old money. So, Daniel Gibson, what's the latest on the forecast? Any more rain?
G'day Hugh, unfortunately there is some more rain to come. Hi everyone. Depending on where you are, there could be another 10 to 20 millimetres for Orange, another 5 to 10, and there's some thunderstorms to talk about as well. When's it going to end? Hopefully I'll tell you soon.
Okay, thank you, Dan. We'll see you later in the bulletin.